Immortal might sound unstoppable, but he doesn't act like it. From getting split in half by Omni-Man to getting killed in every other episode, there are many reasons why he feels weak. But is he? In Season 1, Immortal is a superhero introduced as second only to Omni-Man himself. He possesses the ability to fly, superhuman strength, and regenerative powers. Having lived for more than 3,000 years, he is a superhuman, even known as the mightiest being for millennia. Yet, he still feels like one of the weakest characters. To understand why, we will start with his origin and premise. The Immortal was originally a Celtic warrior, given fantastic powers by an ominous blue portal. He lived on through the ages as part of some of the greatest myths and legends. Later, even lived the life of prolific figures in history, such as those of Arthurian legend and Abraham Lincoln himself, becoming one of the very first spandex and caped heroes in the early 20th century. It would be hard to deny that the Immortal wasn't living up to his name. Coming into the 21st century, the Immortal was part of the greatest group of heroes on the planet, the Guardians of the Globe, in the role of a proto-Superman, amongst a team of heroes mirroring other DC counterparts. In the first season, while we don't get to see much of him in action, we do see him in 3 separate, crucial moments. At first, in the introduction of the Guardians, all the way back in episode 1, we are introduced to the Maulers, a genetically modified technical genius who clones himself a second, attacking the White House directly. Immediately, the show sets up their seeming strength, having them stand in a flurry of machine gun turret fire and comment about how it tickles.
Refreshing. Kind of tickles. I prefer a higher caliber.
One of them, just moments later, blocks cannon fire from an armored troop transport with his bare hand,
Your eye is as replaceable as you are.
letting us know that these guys are pretty dang tough. Despite working as part of a team, and Omni-Man showing him up a little, we can see that at no point in the whole fight does the Immortal actually struggle with the Maulers. He handles them pretty well, taking no damage and not being slowed by them even by a little. At the very end of the first episode, we get the second of his crucial moments. In the scene where Omni-Man kills the Guardians of the Globe, right off the bat, Omni-Man's first target was the Immortal. He knew that the biggest threat among them was the Immortal, and taking him out would be key to his attack working. Had Red Rush not pushed the Immortal out of the way, that fight would have been a lot shorter. Omni-Man summarily takes each of the Guardians out with a single blow. The only members of the team getting any meaningful blows in, War Woman and the Immortal, thanks to the Martian's help. Ironically, the Immortal is the last to go down. He is executed via a swift decapitation, shortly before Omni-Man collapses, looking seriously beat up. A feat that we later see is one very few can attest to. The final of the Immortal's crucial moments in Season 1 comes at the very end of Episode 7. The Maulers manage to piece the Immortal back together and resurrect him, with a collar in an attempt to control him for their schemes. Once he awakens, he immediately rips the collar off and screams for Omni-Man before shooting off in search. At this moment, he is fully bloodlusted, absolutely furious, and out for vengeance. Moving in on Omni-Man's location at Mach 3, so in terms of speed, he's no slouch either. This time, he is completely alone, yet he puts up a much better fight against Omni-Man than the entirety of the Guardians of the Globe before, landing more than a few solid hits, smashing him into the ground, punching him around the sky. Most of his blows draw blood from Omni-Man. We have seen what Omni-Man is truly capable of, just how strong he really is. The fact that the Immortal lasted even a few seconds, completely solo, is a feat in and of itself. His last act of spite, while impaled on Omni-Man's fist, is to almost gouge his eyes out, before he is gruesomely torn in half. All of these feats set the Immortal up to be one of the strongest heroes on Earth who isn't a Viltrumite. Despite that, both of his early feats end in losses, which only opens up a rabbit hole of losses. The Immortal, after this point, takes a serious downward turn into mediocrity. The first season is, tragically, the last time we see the Immortal do anything of credible note, and even then, it was, in reality, the 2 times he was killed, which is ultimately only the very beginning of the Immortal's list of shortcomings. In Season 2, the very first scene we see is an alternate Invincible and the Immortal fighting. Mark does not seem to be having a tough time. Then, Omni-Man shows up and executes him almost instantly. We are once again shown the Immortal failing, this time miserably. Although a variant, his main world counterpart fares no better. Cecil instates him as the leader of the new Guardians of the Globe, after he has recovered from his second death at the hands of Omni-Man. He spends the next few episodes getting the team together and hooking up with Duplicate, not really doing much outside of some posturing and words of wisdom, until we see him come back into action when the Guardians plus Mark are sent out to meet a Martian warship. The Immortal is immediately outclassed by the Sequids, a small parasitic hive mind. He contributes so little to this encounter that he actually almost loses the fight for everyone over his stubborn pride. Invincible, however, immediately puts the Immortal in his place, informing him that he is stronger and faster, to which, surprisingly, Immortal concedes. Mark in Season 2 already outclasses the Immortal. This might come as a shock because Mark still isn't quite that strong himself. He barely kept pace with the Viltrumites on Thraxa and has already lost several big fights this season. And the Immortal already falls short of his power. His final meaningful appearance in the season, he comes across Alan the Alien and is just so utterly outclassed that the fight didn't even really begin. Alan restrains him like a petulant child, barely even putting in the effort to slap him about. Mark intervenes and is sort of a de facto mitigator between the two before the Immortal mopes back to Earth. That is one of the key reasons why the Immortal feels so weak. We see Invincible and even other characters grow, whether we see it happen in real time or have it told to us. Other characters' strengths increases and they gain experience and wisdom, overcome increasingly difficult trials and tribulations, whereas the Immortal, if anything, regresses, is shown doing less and less impressive things over the seasons, falling even shorter of the last time he didn't quite pull through. Despite an impressive set of powers and a few mighty feats, the Immortal seemingly gets weaker, while the main cast of characters continue to reach new highs. This is the most apparent in Season 3. He is among the heroes captured by Doc Seismic, and he does nothing of note. He just gets captured and is rescued by Darkwing and Cecil's reanimate. He then sides with Cecil during his and Mark's falling out, now becoming part of a seriously demembered Guardians of the Globe.
Look, you boys are on the news.
We are? Oliver, I'm fine. It was awesome.
Whoa, that's not us.
Continuing on his next appearance is a rematch against the Maulers, a set of supervillains he has easily handled before, except this time, he doesn't. This time, he is tackled before he even has a chance to do a thing, and is seemingly unconscious from the get-go, when before we saw that he handled the Maulers with little trouble. They also, to note, have had no apparent upgrades, haven't trained or grown in strength even slightly. Aside from a different weapon, they have had no significant improvements at all since their last encounter with the Immortal. He is finally taken out by a glorified taser, a completely incapacitates him for the rest of the fight. Oliver then arrives on the scene with Mark. Now we have a clear metric for just how far the Immortal has fallen, because unlike the Immortal, Oliver, although a Viltrumite, is a child, and he wastes no time brutalizing the Maulers, seemingly killing them for good. An actual child hero who just got his powers recently now outclasses the once great Immortal. A truly sad spectacle. The Immortal's potential seems to have been ultimately squandered, if he ever had any. We get a little glimmer of hope during the King Immortal storyline, where we learn that the Immortal, thousands of years into the future, is now the despotic tyrant of Earth. He rules with an iron fist. Billions have died, and he has seemingly gone off the deep end.
Whoa, what happened here? War. Centuries of it.
His first and last real victory of the season is against foes hundreds of times weaker than him. We later learn that Invincible left him in charge of Earth after leaving for other planets. Most other heroes died out of a long time ago. The Immortal is a shell of his former self, now an old, insane tyrant. Turns out, this has all been a long-winded way of him trying to end his own life via Invincible. All of the horrible stuff he's done, all of the atrocities he's committed, all so that Invincible would return and kill him, thus ending his suffering. He has to force Invincible's hand, but not very hard. Their fight is short-lived and one-sided. Invincible allows him a couple of blows, but when he has enough, he easily stops the Immortal and rips his head off.
Please!
Enough!
His final combat appearance to date comes during the Invincible War, where he and the demembered Guardians of the Globe come face to face with No Goggles Mark, where the entire team, especially the Immortal, they are laughably destroyed by the variant who doesn't even come close to Season 3 Mark. The variant toys with him for the entire fight, laughing and joking as he slams him around.
Hey, I don't need more motivation to kill you, but sure. insult.
clashes with him effortlessly and quips the whole time doing it. The Immortal lands some blows, and not one of them is meaningful. No blows landed make any difference, seem to cause any damage, or even delays in No Goggles movements. The very second that No Goggles gets even a little serious, the fight ends in mere moments. He slams the Immortal into the floor, then decapitates him with his boot before soccer kicking his head up and throwing it through Duplicate. His very first act, upon being resurrected, is to then retire. But what happens next? His appearances in the latest season relegate the Immortal into less than a laughingstock. Outclassed by a child, slapped around like a toy, no meaningful contributions to any fight he was in whatsoever. We see this with other characters when they lose or are beaten. They learn something, change their ways, adapt, and get stronger, even if it is minimal. The Immortal does absolutely none of that. Every time he is beaten, he pouts ineffectually or simply does nothing. He doesn't train to become stronger, doesn't change or adapt his fighting style, he simply doesn't grow as a hero or a character. Throughout the entire series, nothing changes for the better. The Immortal loses more and more to seemingly weaker foes. He grumbles and has a lot of empty platitudes, gets with an ex-member of Teen Team, loses again, and then retires. That is precisely why the Immortal feels so weak.